Hello everyone, I'm back with another video, and in today's video we have a Dell laptop. This is a Dell G7 15. The exact model is a 7588 model. The regulatory model is a P72F002. That information can be found on the bottom of the laptop, on the bottom sticker. And in this video I'm going to take you on step by step how you can open it up and how you can repaste, clean, and the heatsink, the fan for your laptop if yours is running hot and is getting random overheatings. This video is for you. By doing this video, by doing repaste or cleaning, you're not going to change anything on the system or modify anything configuration. It's all safe. You don't need to back up or worry about your files. So let's get into it and let's open it up and clean it up. I'm going to go over the tools that I'll be using, and the link for everything that I use will be in a video description in case you want to purchase yours. Tool number one, a very important one, a good screwdriver set is a really must. I use the UFIXTEK screwdriver set as they have one of the best bits out there. This is the basic set. If you get the pro set, they will include you with an opening tools and tweezers. If not, just get the basic set. And these are made of S2 class steel. So we're going to be using a Phillips number 1 from here. For the opening tool, because I didn't get the pro set, I'll be using a guitar pick. Metallic guitar picks are really suitable to opening cases and covers. You need a curved tweezers. It's handy to have. A very important one, alcohol. Isopropylic or isopropylic 99% plus. Don't get anything under 95. Very common question. People keep asking what kind of towel you use. Can I use a microfiber to clean the heatsink or the GPU or CPU? No, I always recommend you to use a workshop towel. The workshop towels are really designed and is really good to clean the electronics, because as soon as you put alcohol on top of these ones and you try to clean the capacitors on the CPU, the towel will get ripped apart before you damage the capacitor. But if you use a microfiber, the strings on the microfiber is going to attach to the capacitors. It can tangle in there and it can rip apart the capacitor. So use a workshop towel. One sheet of the workshop towel, and you need a toothbrush. Use our new toothbrush to clean the fan system and the heatsink. Don't recommend you guys to grab the air cans. Those air cans, they throw humidity and they are not good. They don't have enough power. Grab yourself a compressed air compressor. Is like a small one. I'll leave the link. And those are like unlimited air and lots of power and dry air. Use those. Thermal paste. The thermal paste depends on you. What kind of thermal paste you want and what's your budget. I'll be using Arctic MX4. The next one will be Noctua, NTH1. These are good one. And the extreme ones, I would recommend to go with the Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut Extreme. These are top of the line. Again, for this video, I'll be using Arctic MX4, which is really good. And with all that said, let's get into it. First thing first, power off the laptop. And on the bottom of the laptop, you're going to loosen up the single screw on the cover. This screw has a little C-lock on them, so as soon as you start rotating, it will separate the case, it will push away. So what you want to do, put your fingernails or opening tool in there and lift up this cover. And with a force, bring it up, don't worry. Those are the clips are getting loose, so lift it up really hard. And there you have the bottom cover. Now you can see it's kind of dirty. You can take it outside and clean it up. Right down here, we can see 2 big fans and shielding, hard drives, SSD, and 2 RAMs and the battery. First thing first, we are interested in to disconnect the battery. To disconnect the battery, first let's remove the 2 screws on the battery on the corner here. And the one right by the CMOS battery. Once we did that, remove the 1 screw on the other side of the battery right here. Now what you want to do, you want to lift up the battery and pull it this way so you can release this bottom one and bring it like this in this position. Now you can disconnect the battery from there, or easier it's to pull it from this end. Just pull the battery connector. It does get a little tough, but just pull it from this way, so that's easier. So right now I'll show you how to disconnect this one. So there's your battery. Put that one in one side. Now, to disconnect this one here, now that I have enough space to work, you want to put your fingernails at the side of the white jack right in, not all the way back here on the first corner, and then you want to pull it backward. So you want to put your fingers right in here and pull it back evenly. Don't go sideways. Otherwise, you're going to bend the pins. All right. Now, we're going to disconnect, not to disconnect, we're going to remove the adhesive under the CMOS battery. Just put a tweezer underneath, just lift up, that has a little adhesive. You don't want to disconnect this one because this one holds the BIOS configuration for the client. But if you do disconnect it, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. And we're going to disconnect pretty much the hard drive here, the mechanic one. So lift up this cover 90-degree upward. And this one has a little adhesive, so run the tool right underneath. I'm going to lift it up and bring it. Remove the 4 screws for the caddy for the hard drive. Now you're going to lift up the hard drive. And this is a 1 terabyte Seagate. Put it to one side. We're going to remove the 1 NVMe drive that is in here, 1 screw at the back end. Remove that tiny screw and pull back the NVMe. We are going to remove the Wi-Fi bracket, remove the screw, and pull back the shield on top. That's kind of wiggly, so remove the shield and pull back the Wi-Fi cable and untangle it from here and disconnect the cable. Just pull them upward, don't yank them sideways. And you need to disconnect this one right in here. This is for RGB, I believe. So pull up this connector right there, pull it upward, has a little adhesive, gently bring it all the way to backside. This one right here, we're going to remove this bracket, metal bracket, remove 1 screw and put it right there. This is for LCD. You want to have a little flip thing in here on top. You want to put your finger in there and pull it upward. So you just push down, so bring it up, untangle it gently, bring it to that side, and let me see. Okay, we are fine there. We could just go ahead and disconnect this power jack connector. Just pull it, slide it that way. So bring it like that. Alright. Now we're gonna start doing the fun part. And let me see if I did it. We're gonna remove the back shield rail cover. So 1 screw, 2, 3, 4 screws, 4 flat screws we gotta remove. Also, if you guys like my videos, if you find my videos helpful and helping you guys out, you can support the channel by clicking the like and subscribe. I'll greatly appreciate it. It helps and supports me to make more videos, take requests, and answer your questions in the comment area. Alright, once we remove the grill, there's a tiny hooks in here. You could either put your fingers in there or slide the guitar pick in there so you can release those. And at the same time, let me see if there's no screws on the back. No. So you can slide it backwards. So that one in there, you can use another guitar pick, leave it there on this side. There we go. So evenly, we're gonna push it back gently. Let's see, everything is fine. There's no screws. In the middle, on the side. There we go. So pretty much you have to wiggle around and it will release itself. So you can take this one outside with a toothbrush, clean it up too. And there's your back wheel. So what we want to do here is to remove this cable all the way to the back side. Remove this one all the way to the back. Now we're going to remove a whole bunch of screws in here. We are going to remove every screw that we see on the bottom cover. I'm going to use a little tiny magnet beside my screw. So go ahead and remove every screw that you see that touches the bottom cover. They are beside the fans too. Don't forget these ones. There are a couple of them. There are 2 of them in here hiding. So up to now, all the screws are the same size and height. You do not need to remove the screws on the fan. Leave those ones in there. These are the under the battery screws are really small screws, short ones. So keep that in mind. A whole bunch of screws in here. So I removed about 500 screws. Once you remove the screw, just double check, make sure you haven't forget any. Just run your fan. This is screws that says fan, leave them on. So I'm just running around, make sure that you didn't miss any. Alright, all good. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start from this corner, from whichever corner you want. You see this tiny line on the side. You wanna stick the guitar pick in there. Just find a way to shove the guitar pick right in there, just like that, about 2 or 3 millimeters, and then you just wanna twitch it. Let me see if you can focus on it. So I'm just rotating on the front grill right there. You wanna hear that click sound? That's what you wanna hear. Okay. Then you want to work yourself all around the front. It's kind of hard, but it's doable. So open this clip. You need to remove this pommel. So now that we see that if the pommel is coming loose right there, you're going to close it down gently. And to be more cautious, I forgot to remove this flex cable for the trackpad, backlight, for the keyboard, and for sensor, light, LEDs. Remove all this cable, even the flex cable for the keyboard. Same thing, just open up the lock and bring it this way. Now you're gonna go back again, open it up. We are gonna remove the top cover right there. Once you did the front end, the rest will come out just like this. I really hate this design. They could have just flipped over the motherboard, give you access on the other side. Now I got the whole screen in one side. So you can take a screen outside again, clean it up with a toothbrush and make it nice and clean. So let's put this on one side and we clean it up. For now, we're gonna work on this side. So let's see, we removed everything in here. There's nothing connected. We are gonna flip it over, and in here we're gonna remove the screws. First, let's go remove the speaker cable here. Grab the jack in the corner and pull it back, just like that. Then fan connectors. Use your finger or use that tweezers. I don't like yanking on the cables. There we go. Now to remove the fans, you need to remove the screws right in here. So remove the screw right there. The screw right there. Now we're gonna remove the screws on the motherboard, starting from this corner. One right there, and 2 of them by the, this is USB-C. Okay, now we walk ourselves towards the other side. There's a 4 or 5 of them in here, or 4 of them. 2 on the power jack. And left of the power jack connector. My magnet is really powerful. And remove the other 2 screws beside them. Okay. Now we remove those. The motherboard should come out pretty easy. Just lift it up. The cable for the power, for the battery, just work it around so this battery thing comes through the jack. Now there we have the motherboard and the bottom chassis. You can just clean it if you want to know how to replace your power jack. It's right over here. This is how you remove the power jack. Just squeeze it there. And put it in the place. So we take it outside again, clean it up, blow some air through here. Now that we can see there's a whole bunch of dust stuff in here. We're gonna clean up this board by removing 4 screws in here and 2 screws on the other side. There we go. Now that we remove those, just push down on the motherboard gently and pull the heatsink up. Just do it gently and it should release the board, bring it up, just like that. And we can see the thermal paste is dried up completely, and that's it. The thermal pads are fine, you don't need to replace them, but in case you want to replace them, these are 1mm thermal pads. On this side, these are 0.5mm thermal pads. On the VRAMs, these are 1mm thermal pads on the VRAMs. So you don't actually need to replace them, they're still good to go. The thermal pads don't get that hot in order for it to go bad. You'll be fine. You don't see any improvement on thermal pads if you replace them. The VRAMs are not overclocked or anything like that, so you're fine. Okay. Now, what I'm gonna do, we're gonna clean up the motherboard first. So we're gonna grab a little bit of the worktop towel. We're gonna soak it in an alcohol. And we're gonna rub on the CPU so we can remove the old thermal paste. There we go. Flip it inside out and remove the excess of the thermal paste on the GPU. That's what I'm saying. Like, you see that workshop towel, it just rips apart and the capacitors around the GPU is not getting damaged. We're gonna put this to one side and we are gonna work on here. Let's go ahead and remove the excess of the thermal paste on the heatsink. Once we are done with this one, we're gonna remove the fans and clean up the fan system. We're gonna flip it upside down. We're gonna switch to a Phillips 00. And we're gonna remove 2 screws in here. And actually there are 3 of them. There might be a 4th one here. But we do need to remove the gaffer's tape. This one has lots of cat or something. Holy. So we are gonna flip it upside down and there's your fan and with lots of dust in there. So we're gonna first, let's go ahead and remove the screws on this side. On this side, I only see 2 screws. This gaffer's tape, you don't need to, but if you want, just purchase yourself some gaffer's tape and replace it. The one on this side has a little tiny clips that you need to loosen up. Tiny clips on this side of the fan, you just need to puncture through and remove. And there we have it. Alright, so we're gonna clean as much as we can here and we're gonna take it outside, blow some air, use a toothbrush and clean up the heatsink and all the parts, and I'll be back right after this. So pretty much the cleaning, you can take your time, do it as you wish and as nice and neat that you can. So I'm gonna go quickly and I'll be back. I took it outside and I cleaned up the fan system and everything as much as I could. And now we're gonna put it back together, and I even clean the casing. So let's put that to one side. And let's go ahead and clean it up. So we're gonna use the same screw bit, 00, and we're gonna put the fan screws back on. Alright, now that we have these screws back in, we are gonna repaste the motherboard. We're gonna bring the motherboard over. And we are gonna use the workshop towel. We're gonna make sure there's no fingerprint on the crystal die. That's the only one that we are interested. Okay, we're gonna clean it up and we are gonna apply the thermal paste over one line on the CPU and one tiny line on the GPU. Okay, now we're gonna grab the heatsink and we are gonna bring it over and make sure you align it over the heatsink, over the screw holes, and put it down. Once you put it down, do not lift it up again. And put the tiny screws that you remove on the heatsink. Okay, I'm gonna put like a scrambled workshop tile to put underneath so I can press on it. I don't have to press on the fans. And then I'll put number 2. You can follow the numbers as long as cross screw them so you can spread the thermal paste evenly over the CPU and GPU. That's fine. So I'm gonna do cross screw them always. I did forget to put the fan connectors through here to the other side, so make sure the fan connectors go first on the other side of the motherboard. Okay, now we're gonna flip it over. And we are gonna slide in the fan connectors right through the jack. We are almost done down here. We're gonna put this one to the side and we're gonna grab the bottom cover. And down here, we're gonna make sure everything is aligned nicely. We're gonna grab the motherboard, put it on top, put the battery through this slot right through there and bring it down, slide down the USB-C charge down there and then put it down evenly. And we're gonna put the screws on top. So the bracket for this one didn't come out. So the bracket for here, it came out. So we're gonna put that bracket on top. Okay, this one goes over the power jack. These 2 tiny black screws, I kind of forgot where I took them out, but I'll find a way. So let's put the screws for the power jack bracket. Those are for the fan. Put all this chrome screws. There should be like a 4 on each, 3 on each side and 4 on one. So I start from the corner here and put the 2 on the USB-C charge and 2 on the power jack and between the USB and micro SD or SD card reader. Alright. And then we're gonna put the 2 screws on the fan on the right and 2 screws on the fan on the left. You need to take your time doing this. Do not rush. Take your time. Concentrate. Don't be like, oh, I want to do it quickly. It's actually fun when you take your time doing it and you don't have anybody rushing you. So slide in the speaker cable right the same way that you did with the fan. Right inside the jack. Entangle the cables right there. We are done here. So now what I'm gonna do here, we're gonna put this thing over, but we do need to run all this flex cable, bend them over somehow and run them through here. So make sure all these cables stay over on this side, and then you can just go ahead and close it down. We are gonna open up the screen and I'm gonna pinch the top and the bottom cover together on the corners. Okay. On the back end, make sure it's nice and locked down. Now we're gonna grab the cable for the LCD cable. First I'm gonna snap it in place. So bring it over on top of the jack and push it down. And then you can take your time running the cables alongside here and put it in there. You want to leave a little room for breathing. So leave a little room here. This one has to be like that so it can move around. I remove this gaffers, this Kapton tape. You need this space right here because when you open the hinge, it just pulls through here. So leave that one loose. And let's go ahead and put the bracket for this one. Put the tiny screw for it. There we go. Now I want to remove this tape over. You're going to open up the lock for the keyboard and slide the flex cable right underneath. Make sure the flex cable goes all the way inside the jack. Has to go straight in. And then you want to lock it right over. Same thing here for the trackpad. You want to make sure it goes straight inside and then lock it down. For the backlight, this is for the backlight. I don't know how many backlights it has. I think it has a side LEDs, but this is for the side LED. This is for the backlight, for the keyboard. And this is for the power on button. So this is the important one. And slide the BIOS battery in there. We're going to slide the power connector inside the jack evenly from the side. Do not go sideways, just pinch it in there, make sure it's all the way in. Remove this gaffer's tape here, you don't need it. And bring the Wi-Fi cables to one side and bring this other cable for USB, I believe, for webcam, I guess. Yeah, this should be a webcam. And squeeze it in there. Run the cables for the Wi-Fi. First, I tangle them right through here. Pretty much you're doing a zigzag right through the gaps there. And grab the connector, just punch in the connector, make sure they snap in. Doesn't matter what orientation they go, they're just antennas. They do the same thing, both of them. One is for Bluetooth, one of them is for Wi-Fi. So bring it in. As long as you squeeze it in there, it's not a big deal. Grab the cover for the Wi-Fi so it keeps the cables in place so it doesn't pop out. So you can slide it in. So I'm gonna remove the Wi-Fi here. It's easier to do it in the air, so put this one right here. And then squeeze it in there. And then you can bring it there. Now we're gonna put tiny screws for the Wi-Fi connector. Put the M.2, make sure the notch on the M.2 matches the notch on the DIMM. Bring it down in 45 or 15 degree. Slide it there and bring it down to the board. Put the single screw right there. You're gonna grab the hard drive. There's no screw underneath here to worry about. Put the hard drive inside the jack, the connector, and lock it down. Grab the battery, slide it straight in there. Make sure it goes evenly. Put the 4 screws for the caddy of the hard drive. Next, we're gonna grab the top grill, the back grill. We are gonna slide it in from the back to the front. And the going in is really easy. Just bring it inside and put the 4 screws, the flat-headed screws, right on it. Actually, I shouldn't do that because there's a screws underneath that we need to put. So I forgot to put the screws underneath. Okay, so let's put a hold on this one and go with the rest of the screws. All these screws, first I'm gonna put the tiny screws under the battery. There should be like 4 of them. And then we're gonna put the rest of the screws wherever you see a screw hole opening. So first put the tiny one which says M23. So put this one and then stop putting. I'm going to fast forward this part. It should be really easy. So once you put these 4 screws, now the rest of the screws go all over the place. Wherever you see a screw hole, obviously. Right, now that I put all the screws, remember there are 2 screws in here, there, by the fans, in the middle right there, and the front row. You're gonna grab the back grill, you're gonna bring it, and you're gonna pop in, and put the 4 screws on the back grill. Now the last thing down here would be to grab the battery. The battery goes like this, so the battery connector has to go this way in. Okay, so I'm gonna flip it over like that, and I'm gonna squeeze it right inside the jack like that. Make sure it goes evenly inside. Now flip it back, put this bottom corner underneath and bring it down, and put the 3 screws over the battery corners. And the last thing is to just put the bottom cover and power on the laptop. Okay, grab the bottom cover. Make sure you put the bottom end of the front end underneath, first in a 45-degree angle, and then squeeze the sides first. Make sure the sides are squeezed in, and then lock down the single screw right on top. And if you see any gaps opening like this, just push them down. It will snap in its place. And that's how you service and clean up your DELL G7 15 laptop. And let's go ahead and power it on. The lights are on, F2. So you can take me to our BIOS. So we have a screen, and we are inside the BIOS, and double check, make sure service tag, 16 gig RAM, and everything is working fine. Again, I hope you guys like this video and helped you guys out. If you have any question or requests, feel free to leave them in a video comment. I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.